Hey guys, I'm Joey Couture. Welcome to First Impressions here on YouTube. I know I've been away for a while. I've been doing some stuff with Felicia Day and hashtag Team Human. But with me, coming back right now, I have none other than the awesome, infamous Miss J.L. Langley, author of the With or Without series, as well as the Sci-Regency and the Tin Star series, right? It's Tin Star, right?
I think that's what the publisher listed it as. I call it the Ranch series.
The Ranch series. Okay, we'll call it the Ranch series. Not Hidden Valley. Nothing hidden about these books, let me tell you what. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I've been busy. Kind of nuts and crazy. Although, there goes my headset again. I gotta get a new one. Anywho, hashtag cut. All right, so the first question that we do on the series is usually where I ask the other person to give a first impression of themselves if they didn't know themselves, but I want to kind of put a different spin on it a little bit, because you are an author, and you generally write for a specific audience. If you didn't know who you were and you happened to meet yourself at a book signing and you were curious about what this author was about, and they told you, I write, romance, erotica, but it tends to be, gay and everything else, and it's very graphic in most cases. If you didn't know who you were, what kind of first impression would you get knowing that that's what this author writes about?
Oh, wow. I don't know. That's kind of because I've met authors and I look at them and I don't know, because I write, I guess it's hard for me to look at it like that as a stranger. You see what I'm saying? I look at authors too and they tell me what they write, and I don't know. I don't really have any preconceived notions. Gotcha.
I guess the reason why I wanted to spin it that way is because sometimes when you hear that somebody's an author, like, they tend to think of like somebody like John Grisham or Stephen King. They're like, oh, like, what kind of thing would I possibly have seen from you on the shelf? And I tried to picture your answer with this question, just like sitting there, kind of like giving the whole eyebrow up, like, really? You really want to know? Like, I just have, that was, I don't know, maybe that's where I was half expecting it to go. But no, that's a fair answer. I would totally agree with that. Before I do go into the other questions, though, for anybody who's a fan of J.L. Langley and follows you on Twitter, your latest book in the series for the With or Without series has been nothing more than like pulling teeth, from what I understand. Is it because characters aren't doing what you want them to do, or they keep taking you in so many directions that you can't put a leash on them, no pun intended?
I think the problem's me, actually, rather than the characters. As you know, it's been a while since my last book.
Right.
And so I've really struggled with writing the past, 3 years? I had like a really crazy time, with a lot of deaths in the family and stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess it really affected me more than I thought it did. Mm-hmm. And so, I've come up with so many weird, like, I don't know, like little, I don't know, what would you call it? Like neurosis, I guess. I don't know. I'm
okay.
Just like, so, and so I'm trying to get back into it. So it's been kind of it's been a process.
Right.
And my critique partners will tell you that, I'm probably driving them crazy, but it started out with everything I wrote. I hated everything I wrote. It's like, oh my God, this is horrible. And I was never like this before. I just would sit down and I wrote, and it was like, oh, yay, that's wonderful. And Allie Blue is so funny because she says that she does the same thing. And I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could get back there,
Right.
Because I start writing and I'm like, oh my God, this is like horrible. This is the worst thing I've ever written. And, I'll send it to critique partners and they're like, no, it's good. I'm like, no, delete. And so, that's how we started out was, oh, look at this. It really sucks. Oh, it's really good. No, it's not. Delete. And so now we've progressed to the point where it's like, okay, I think it's okay, but something's missing. or something's not quite right, and so we go through that phase and then delete.
Right, exactly.
And so we're kind of getting to the point now where I got to the point where I was like, I gotta put this aside, because I've written probably, oh my gosh, I'm gonna say 120,000 words of it, and I've gone, no, start over. And so I'll get 30,000 again, and I go, no, start over. So I've gotten to a point where it's actually, beginning, it's not bad. I mean, I can see it's not bad, but it's just, I needed a break. And I think part of that, we were talking before we started, we were talking about that book, and the toupee.
Yeah, exactly. I love this book. I love this book.
Well, and it's awesome, but like, I got into a point where I started reading all kinds of books on how to write. And so I think it really affected me. I think it really kind of screwed me up, because now I'm like, nothing is good enough. And so it's been kind of having to erase all that, so it's been a long process. That will probably stay, but like I said, I needed a break, so I kind of switched over to the Sci-Regency for a little bit. So, and I've got about 12,000 on it. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. So like I said, I'm making progress, because I don't look at it and go, God, this sucks. I just go, so hey, we're getting there.
It's okay for dollar store treats, but I prefer Hostess.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah.
So before I get into the questions, I do have one other unrelated one, though. Okay, so when you get into the zone, like when you're writing and you're typing it out, and you just keep going, and the words just come out so fast that the only thing that exists to you in your world is the whole on the keyboard. And somebody comes in and is like, either like, Mom or Honey, what's your gut reaction? Do you lash out like, leave me alone, shut up, back off, I'm in the zone? Like,
usually it's a long suffering, the what?
Yep. I hate that. It's the same way when you're in a dream, somebody comes to wake you up, and it's like, it's such at a great point, and then somebody wakes you up and you're like, but now I don't know how it ends because I don't remember.
Right. No, and you say that, but inevitably something always happens. Somebody calls or something. It's like, really? Yep. Could you not have just 5 more minutes? So yeah. Yeah, usually it's just the look,
Yep. It's like, really, you had to come in here now? Right at this point? Right when my hero is saving his lover? Really? Really? They're hanging off a cliff, and you have to ask me if you can have money for ice cream. Really? Okay, this is kind of funny. I've done that before, where I've gotten so into stuff and I'm ignoring them, and I'll type out stuff that they say. Like, I insert into sex scene, Mom, can I have more Kool-Aid? You're like, oh, geez, no, delete. What? But that makes it so cool. That makes it so realistic in some ways, Oh, man. All right, so here we go. The actual interview. All right, so on a typical day as a writer, even if you're not writing, what's your typical day like for you, like in the life of Jay?
Oh, wow. Roll out of bed, get the kids off to school, get the husband out of the house, make sure the dog's eating his food, which he goes under hunger strikes at times. He's over here, quit that. And then I sit down at the computer and answer email, and then kind of get to work. And most of the time, off and on through the day, email with my critique partners. So I almost always talk to Willa Okati daily and Kimberly Gardner. So usually during the process of writing,
right.
So it's kind of cool. So then if I get stuck and stuff, I got somebody to go, hey, read this.
So is this like a writing circle, kind of like how they have like like a book club, but it's more of a writing circle where you all help each other out, or is it other authors that are part of Samhain Publishing?
No, it's I have like a group. I have an awesome group actually of critique partners, like Allie Blue, Kimberly Gardner, Willa O'Cotty, Jade Buchanan, Jet Michaels. Who am I forgetting?
You know that person. You know that one person will see this, and they're gonna smack you for it too, aren't they?
Thanks. Yeah. Oh yeah, thanks. I'm so important. I can tell. But no, I mean seriously. I mean some really great writers, and but like for instance, Kimber and Willa, I talk to almost every day. Like I said, and Willa, she's a full-time writer too. So we'll, and I even have her on chat, and every once in a while, well, hey, what are you doing? Read this for me, or help me brainstorm this out. This isn't making sense, or whatever. But yeah, it's really kind of cool. It's just we kind of found each other. It started out with Brenda Bryce. That's it.
There we go.
It started out with me and Brenda and Willa, and we ended up with Allie and Jet and Kimber and Jade and Maura Anderson. So we like I said, we'll send each other chapters and stuff. Now, unfortunately, lately, not all of us are writing because we all kind of hit this bad spot together. We're all like, I can't write. So it's horrible, at least we, but we're there to kind of support each other and say, hey, yeah, go write anyway. So it's nice.
Very cool. So most often authors get asked this question of like, what made you want to become a writer? Well, I'm going to go a little bit further with it. What made you want to write gay erotica romance novels? Like, where did that come from? Because the reason I'm curious is because a lot of times when in the writing community, there's a stigma of that a certain genre is written by either male or female. Like, if you look, when you come up with the term just straight up romance novels, most generally often people will think of like Danielle Steele and people like them, and they're like, okay, so women write romance novels. Or like when it comes to horror, most often it's thought of like Stephen King, Clive Barker, and stuff like that. While you might have Anne Rice, hers is kind of like a combo of the two. Right. But I have found that a lot of gay erotic romance novels, even if they're not erotic, are done, they're written by women. So I'm curious, what made you want to write gay romance and erotica?
Oh, wow. It's been a long time. This is easy, though. I got this one.
Okay.
I got this one. I started out writing regular romance, and I was the typical, read a book and went, oh, my God, I can write better than that.
Yep.
And my husband went, so do it. And I went, yeah, okay. So I did, and so I started writing regular romance. Mm-hmm. And I ended up critiquing a book for Allie Blue. It was a Forgotten Song. It was her first book.
Okay.
And I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And at the time, it was like paranormal romance was really big. And so there was just, I was writing werewolves at the time. Yep. And there was just, it was all starting to look the same and stuff because so many people were writing it. And, I read this book by Allie and I'm like, oh, this is fantastic, and nobody's doing it, because at the time there really wasn't. There was Allie and Willa and Laura Baumbach. And that was it. I mean, that was it. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to do it. And so I wrote 10 Star, and, I actually sent it to Allie and I was like, would you mind critiquing this for me? And she's like, sure, she liked it. And she's like, yeah, this, yeah, do it, send it. And so I did. And, it just kind of took off from there. And then I got to the point where that's all I was writing. And, like now I'd kind of like to switch back, not totally. I want to do both,
right.
I want to do both of them. But it's got to the point where I kind of can't, because everybody's like, no, we want the next, wolf book, or we want the next Sci-Regency book or whatever. And so I almost kind of feel like I have to keep on that. So, I haven't gotten to write regular romance in quite some time. But yeah, that's how it started. And it just, I don't know, it just seemed to fit. It just really clicked for me. And I love writing it. Now, oddly enough, I don't really read it. So go figure.
That was actually going to be one of my questions, if you actually happen to read anything like it. Well, I think it's tied into something else, but I was actually curious if you actually read any, gay romance novels or whatever.
I read my critique partners. I'm really picky about I'm very picky, and I hate to say it, but there's a lot out there that's really not worth reading, in my opinion.
I actually agree. I'll let you finish your part.
Smut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find so much of the gay romance is it's smut, I mean, and that there's nothing wrong with smut, but that's not what I want to read. I want a plot. I want the romance. I want a plot,
Yep.
And there's not, and I haven't read it in a long time because I don't read in the genre. So maybe there is a lot out there now, but when I back several years ago, there really wasn't. It seemed like it was all smut, and that's not what I like to read. So I only read my critique partners for the most part. I read historical romance. That's like my genre. I mean, I love historical romance. So I don't think I'll ever write in historical romance, but that's what I like to read.
And you know what? Quite honestly, even if like the next Wolf book, I'm not speaking for everybody here. I can't speak for all the fans. But even if the next Wolf book only had like say 3 scenes of smut in it, I really don't care. I want to read the next story. That's how I am. I care more about like where it all leads, and like yes, I'll admit I'm one of those people that enjoys reading the smut and stories. But it's like if that's all it is, then I don't want to read it.
Right.
And that's what and that's what I like about your writing is that you give a lot of story, but you're like, hey, guess what? Bonus, here's some smut with it. It's like, ooh, it's like a cherry on a cupcake. I got smut.
That's what I like to read.
Yep.
It's kind of funny because there is only one author that I read that doesn't write sex scenes. And because I'm like, what? It's like, sex with no payoff. It's like, yeah, no. And so I don't like to read, without, I like there to be a sex scene, at least 1 or 2,
Yep.
But there is only one author that I will read. I don't read inspirational romance, but there is one author that, and she's not even classified inspirational, but she's the only one I will read that doesn't write sex scenes. And it's because she's just such a damn good author that you don't even miss them, because most of them you feel like, especially in romance, I feel like I said, it's like, yeah, no, it's like there's no payoff. It's like foreplay with no orgasm or something. And but she's about the only one that's not like that you don't go, hey, I've been robbed.
Yep. Okay, here's a good one for you. When you started the With or Without series, was it originally intended to be about werewolves, or had it started in a different way?
No, it was werewolves.
It was werewolves? Okay.
Yep.
No, because sometimes, like, I had read somewhere that they're not Anne Rice, but it was somebody else who does really good with vampires. When they had first started writing, it wasn't even originally supposed to be a vampire book, and it was just like, you turn a page and it's like, oh, it's about vampires, I guess that's where we're going. But no, I was actually really curious about that, whether or not if it had started a different way or not.
Yeah, I also used, because I was writing paranormal regular romance,
right.
Just male-female romance, and that's what I did was wolves most of the time. And back then, the wolves were pretty new too. Back when I started that, and then like I said, because everybody was doing vampires. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do vampires. Everybody does vampires. And so I did wolves. And of course now everybody's doing wolves.
Right.
But my series, my straight series, I use the same principles, the same rules, I guess, the werewolf mythology and stuff in the With or Without series.
Okay.
So where the women they can carry the gene to be werewolf, but they don't become a werewolf, or So I use the same world building, I guess. That's what you would say. just lay down. You're not getting outside.
I really want to know about this part, but a lot of other people who want to become a successful writer, or at least a published writer for that matter, how did you actually go about becoming published? Because I know that with your publisher right now, Samhain Publishing, like they will accept manuscripts, or they might accept excerpts to be considered or whatever, but they mostly would like it if you had an agent. How did you go about all of that?
Well, I got in with Samhain when they very first started, and it started because Allie, she wrote me and she said, "Hey, have you heard of Samhain or whatever?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And she said, "Well, this is so and so and so so," and I went, okay, the name sounds familiar. And she says, "Well, an editor from them wrote me and asked me if I would submit something because she's read my work and she likes it." And so I went, "Really? Who is she? And is she interested in more?" And so Allie, wrote her back, and of course she sent her something and then introduced me. And so she, it was Sasha, and she, took me and Allie both on, or she took Allie on and then me. So we got in there when they first started. But yeah, I mean, me and my critique partners, all of us kind of started with the whole ebook back before they became really, really popular. In fact, when we first started, it was a real, like at Romance Writers of America, it was a real, kind of, divided. It was, here's your traditionally published and here's your ebook, and, you guys are crap,
Right.
We weren't seen as real writers. We were seen as the, oh yeah, you guys are the wannabes. Y'all aren't really published. And so there was a big thing about that for a long time. And of course, Samhain, that was one of the cool things, is because back when they first started, they were publishing an ebook and in print.
Right.
And so we were like, yeah, we want print. We want to be real authors. And so, and of course, now you look at it and there's like no money in it. I mean, when I first started with Samhain, that's where the bulk of my royalties came from, was the print books.
Yep.
And now it's like, why do we even bother?
Exactly.
Because, nobody, I mean, I myself, I don't read. I mean, I don't read. If it's not an ebook, I don't read it, So a lot of people are like that nowadays. And there's
going to still be some kind of self-satisfaction when you see your book actually in print, though. Like, I would still get at least a little bit jazzed out of that. Like, even though I know it's on sale and for Kindle and ebooks and everything else, to actually see like a physical copy, like with the cover printed on it and everything else, I don't know. I would get really, really jazzed.
Well, and it used to be a really cool thing. Of course, I say that it's been so long since I've had one come in the mail. Oh my gosh, I've got to get a book finished. But the ones that are really, really freaking cool, that you're just like, oh my God, it's the foreign editions.
Right.
So you get them in Japanese.
I saw your pictures of those.
In German. That's so cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, that's with mine. I don't know if everybody gets, I'm assuming everybody gets a copy of their foreign editions, but I constantly, they're like, oh, we sold it to such and such. And I'm like, yeah, I want a book. So send me a book.
It's like, I wrote it,
so
send it back to me.
I always get, so and Samhain's great. They send me, like 3 or 4 copies of the foreign, editions. So
very nice.
It's pretty neat. I have a really awesome translator that does the Japanese, and she will send me, she'll send me like pictures, because they have like pictures in the books. It's really cool.
Oh, so
it's really cool.
So they almost give it a little bit of a manga edge to it?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's not quite like a graphic novel,
right.
But, they have like maybe 6 pictures in the whole book. But still, they take scenes, and they have pictures. It's really awesome. I'll have to go find one in a minute and show you. But, and apparently they're doing with Abandon now. So she just finished translating though, so I haven't gotten the pictures yet.
Yeah, that would be the one over the shoulder right now that I have. You can't see over one of my shoulders, but I actually have both of the books that you sent me. So I also have this one too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was trying to set dress and be all.
My favorite two.
Your favorite 2 books?
Yeah.
Yeah, With Abandon, I will admit, kind of became my top favorite out of the Without series. Now, the Sci-Regency series, I just finally got to start reading on the first book, even though it's been like a year and a half since I got it. But I keep seeing this book cover here for is it Regilance Rake? Regilance Rake. Okay, sorry. I took crappy English classes in high school. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's okay. I couldn't pronounce it. I went to a book signing, the one in Germany that I went to this past year, and for the life of me, I couldn't pronounce it. I'm like, I made the damn word up, but don't ask me. So, yeah, that's okay.
But every time I see it sitting there, and I'm just like, I really want to read it. But I have to go to I'm not going to jump on the third book and then go back to the other one. So.
No, you got to read those in order.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's my favorite series.
Now, what a lot of famous people, and yes, you are famous. I hope you realize this. Now, how do you handle trolls?
Oh gosh,
the people
not very well.
Not very well. Yeah.
I try to, and that's part of my new thing is I don't know. I mean, my self-esteem really tanked with all this crap in the past couple of years, and I think it's affected my writing, and I just try to stay away from all that. I don't read reviews now, and for the most part, maybe because I just stay away from it, but everybody I encounter online and stuff are very pleasant, and like I said, I do that purposely. I don't go looking for reviews or any of there's like a couple of websites that used to do or blog sites that, and they seemed kind of hateful and stuff to gay romance authors.
Right.
And I stay away from that.
Gotcha. Well, no, I asked because, okay, here's a question. Have you ever heard of the website called Twitch TV? Okay, long story short, Twitch TV is basically where people will go on and you can watch them and also interact with them while they're playing video games. So, like, if they're playing, say, World of Warcraft, like, they can talk about their characters and how they got into the game, but they also get to watch what they're doing while in a dungeon or whatever. Well, Felicia Day, she had done one called Legend of Grimrock, and it's a dungeon crawler. And it's played in the first person, and so many people, they interacted with it and whatnot, and her streams would go anywhere for 2 to 3 hours. And I thought it'd be really, really funny to edit one of her streams down to like either 20 minutes or less. So it kind of became really, 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 really popular. So it was, the abridged series, and I would take out the most outlandish and hilarious and scariest parts and slap it all together. And I actually got my first troll. He was a troll of the Team Human community, but he told me that he actually gave me 2 comments, something about my work sucked and how I was such a follower, and then how I should go kill myself because I was so pathetic. But I didn't feel saddened by it. I actually sat there with a smile, and I'm like, I've done something where I've gotten my first troll. I've gotten recognized. Actually, I was like, hashtag achievement unlocked. I was so excited about it in a way, because that meant I was doing something right then. Like, even if I wasn't like huge doing what I was doing, I was at least getting noticed, and that's what I realized. So as soon as somebody started sending the hate at me, I don't know. I guess I just got, like I said, I got excited because I was like, I must be doing something right because it's pissing somebody off.
That's good. That is a great way to look at it. If you don't look at it that way, and I've gotten more like that, but like I said, I for the most part, I try to stay away from it.
Yep.
But that's the best way to look at it, because there's just, you can't please everybody. Nope. And people, something about the internet, it's, I guess that anonymity, if people said the things, especially back when I was a kid, if you went up to somebody and said the crap to them that they say on the internet, you get your clock clean, buddy.
Exactly.
I mean, you didn't say that kind of stuff to people without, and that's a big problem with the internet, is because people say whatever they want.
Yeah.
And they've gotten that way, like, I know in schools too, because like my boys, have had, issues with that, with that. And I'm like, okay, you can't hit them. You'll get suspended, If they hit you first, then go for it, And of course, that's kind of a scary situation too, because they're both pretty good at Kung Fu. So.
Yeah, you actually mentioned that because you said that you have Kung Fu, that you do. Now, do you also participate in Kung Fu, or is it just your boys?
No, I just started. They've been doing it for quite some time. And my husband does Wing Chun, and the boys and I do Mantis. They've been doing it for quite some time. My sons, both of them are pretty high up. My youngest is just now going into the adult class, but he's a red sash in the kids class, which is in Kung Fu, how karate, it's black belt is your highest. In Kung Fu, it's red, gold sash, but that's your master's, like our Sifu. But it's red sash. And so my youngest is a red sash in the kids class. Of course, now he's having to, it's kind of cool because he just went into the adult class because he just turned 15. And so he's having to kind of learn the more lethal stuff. And so he's not a red sash anymore. But he's still a really high up sash. So it's really cool. And I'm just learning. So it's really neat because I come home and I'm like, okay, work with me, because I have a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. And so they're both way better than me. So it's really cool. I've got like private tutors and everything. It's cool.
Sorry, I just had a scene from I was brainstorming something as you were telling it to me. I was just like, has she tried using this yet?
Yes, I actually...
See, I'm reading into it already!
Actually, yeah, I'm using it
I'm
already.
totally zoning with you, totally doing it.
Yeah, I got to get back to that. But yeah, Reese is like Kung Fu master. So, which it fits him, And of course, I didn't know this until this book, but I knew some of his background, but not all of it until this book. But yeah, and he does Wing Chun. He doesn't, so I'm having to, okay, if you were in this situation, Andre, what would you do? Because, yeah, I don't do Wing Chun. So,
well, there you go.
Oh, I got to tell you this. This is so funny, Joey. When I first started doing Kung Fu, so I come home and I'm showing the youngest. I'm standing in the kitchen, supposed to be cooking, and I'm showing the youngest. I'm like, okay, look what I learned. I'm like, yeah, blah, blah. And then he's like, yeah, cool. And so then the next week I come back and I'm like, oh, now look what I learned today. And he's like, yeah, that's awesome, Mom. Okay, now keep going. And I'm like, what? What do you mean keep going? He goes, keep going. I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. And he goes, okay, look what stance you're in. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, and go. I'm like, yeah, I didn't get that lesson. I don't know what you're doing. He's like, Mom, what you showed me last week, do that now. I'm like, oh my God, it's like Mr. Miyagi, wax on, I got it. He just died. He's like, oh my God. It was great. And then we do that a lot around here. We oh my God, look what I learned. I keep thinking I need a scene like this. Maybe Sterling needs to learn Kung Fu.
Well, I can see him trying to like practice with the. Okay, now Reese. I'm getting the names confused up. Is the younger one, right? The one that was just...
Nope.
No?
You're thinking Logan, aren't you?
No, the younger one that was just recently turned because he was going to die. And...
No, that's Sterling.
Okay, that is Sterling.
No.
No?
Yes, not just. Are we talking... Wait, which book are we talking?
I think I'm talking about the end of book 3. He was the younger brother of one of them.
No, that was... Oh, no, that's book 2. Yeah, that's Sterling.
Okay, yeah, I was picturing Sterling, and then the one that, like, we all know is in love with him he's like a big brawny guy, like I think the way you described him. I can just picture him standing outside, like just towering over him as if like trying to block this karate punch. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna let him figure it out. Like, I'm just picturing that as you were telling me the karate story, and I'm just like, this guy does not know what he's in for.
Well, I did do a scene where he actually, some guys attack him, and Sterling's kind of behind him, and he's, stay back, and so he just, and he's just like, holy crap, when did you learn this, So, but I have written it. I just, yeah. And yeah, of course it's going to be in there. So
well, there you go.
Probably from now on, all the characters are going to do kung fu, But hey, I was good. I didn't make it my kung fu. I made it, a different kung fu.
Jumping back to the book that you and I both discovered that we both have and we both love. What's your average daily word count like? Like, I know that real life will jump in and bug you, but generally speaking, like, what would you say your word count when you type out is usually?
Well, it just kind of depends. It used to be around, I don't know, 2,500 to 3,000. Lately, if I get 1,000, I'm happy. So, in fact, today I got like 90 or 941 or something like that. So it just kind of depends. Like I said, I'm kind of in a transition, and I'm sorry, my battery's about to die.
Oh, totally understand. It's all good.
So I'm trying to fix this here. But it just kind of depends. Hopefully once I really get going again and really, kind of find myself, hopefully 2,500 to 3,000, which is typically what I do, because when I really get in the zone and stuff, and like after I get a book contracted, I'll, as I said, I don't typically plot until half to 2/3 is done, and then it kind of, because that way after that I've told myself basically the story and I see what's going on, so I'll go ahead and plot it out. And once I do that, and like I said, once I have a contract on it and stuff, I usually will just do a scene a day. So it's like, okay, bam, 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 so a scene every single day. Here lately, it's, like maybe 2-3 days per scene or whatever. So it just kind of depends. Like I said, hopefully it's going to get back to, I'm getting there, slowly but surely.
All right, so one of my last few questions is, what would you, I know that you said, you've been struggling, like, because of real life problems and whatnot, but, everybody has those real life problems. And I'm not turning that towards, like, it's an excuse situation, like, question. It's, everybody hits those walls, and we all break through those walls after, everything that has held us back, keeping us from doing, the craft and whatnot. What would you suggest to somebody who's new and upcoming, who wants to get their work published? Would you suggest maybe like releasing a few short stories so that people might get the idea of your style for free on Kindle? Because I found actually that there are a few gay romance novels for Kindle. There's also short stories, and that's actually how I guess some of these authors get their name out, because they don't always go with a publisher, or sometimes they do, but what they'll do is they'll write an entire scene that's not already in a book to lead you to their books. What would you suggest when it comes to getting published? Persistence. Keep at it. And like you're talking about with the whole, writing thing, I know readers are frustrated with me as far as, because it's been it's going on 4 years, maybe 3 years. I don't know. Abandon was 2011. Yeah. So, but that's the key. That's to publishing, to breaking through those walls. You got to just keep at it. And, unfortunately, sometimes it takes a while, but, you keep at it. You get one rejection, submit it somewhere else. You get another rejection, submit it somewhere else. If they give you some kind of a feedback to say, fix this, and fix this,
try that, but just keep at it. And as far as releasing free stories, that's not a bad idea. Or I know a lot of people like the whole, we were talking about like with the 50 Shades stuff, the whole blogging. And I think that's where all that started. And that's not a bad idea. Don't do fan fiction, do your own stuff.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with fan fiction, because there's not.
Right. Because that's how some writers get used to the idea of writing.
Yeah, the fan fiction is really a really great way to get readers. One of my friends, she started out doing fan fiction. I mean, but everything she's published has been hers. But on her website, she's got free fan fiction, and it's a great way to get your name out there and get readers.
Yeah, it was something that I had considered, because I actually decided I was going to check them out. And there was a series. I can't remember the name of the author off the top of my head, but it's the Taken, Used, and Kept by the Centaurs. It's a trilogy of short stories that she wrote. Now, admittedly, I know I had said earlier, yes, I'm going to be doing something that involves Greek gods and stuff like that. I was tipped off with that, but then I thought more about it, and I'm like, well, what about Greek mythology do I like? And I'm like, well, I know I liked the original stories that I had heard, but I also heard that there was many adult stories, that the way the Minotaur came into being was because, Zeus turned himself into a bull and had sex with a woman, and there you go. But I was like, the Greek mythology has been twisted in other ways too, so I'm like, why can't I twist it to match something that I want to do? So that's where I it was like, that was my stepping stone, reading about, the eroticism with the centaurs and stuff. That was the stepping stone that led me to a whole roundabout way of like, oh, so I can do something. So I guess like, even with, I guess Spearmint, I may have already had the answer for myself, but hey, those of us watching may not have already had the answers.
Hey, Joey, I swear we have so many similarities. I'm lucky though. Writing is my full-time job, so yeah. Which that it's a blessing, but at the same time, it's got its own problems too. Because, like now, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm unemployed. 4 years, I'm unemployed. But, and people always want to call, and for some reason, I work from home translates into please do my chores and errands for me.
Right.
I don't know why, but I always get, oh, hey, yeah, since you're not doing anything, wait a minute, when did we get this? I'm not doing something. But yeah, I get it.
Are you like
real life?
Are you like me, where you sometimes struggle? Like, even let's just say for the sake of argument that the entire house is clean, dishes are done, there's no messes anywhere, everybody's taken care of, and everybody's off doing their own thing. Do you still find it incredibly hard to write at home, or do you feel like, I need to go somewhere and write? Like, I need to leave the premises of the house, the property. I need to go somewhere and go sit. And you just find that sometimes it flows out of you a lot better.
Well, I don't really go anywhere. Every once in a while, most of the time I work really well from home. Mm-hmm. And I am one of the, the laundry has to be done, the dishes have to be done. I'm kind of a neat freak at, certain things. So if I don't, I'll sit there and, I'm talking. Oh my God, the dishes are in the sink. And, so I have to go do it, or I'm not going to be able to write. But every once in a while, if I'm stuck, just too much going on, I'll put my current scene, whatever scene I'm working on, I'll email it to myself. And I'll take my phone and I'll go somewhere and write. Like, a lot of times I'll sit in the car waiting for my youngest, and I said just sit there and type myself an email and type the rest of my scene or whatever. But for the most part, I work pretty good from home. I'm more comfortable at home.
I found that if I'm not at home, and I'm, not to throw a cliche, because if you knew exactly where I was when I was sitting in the coffee shop, which is right part of where I work, because yes, world, I work a 9-to-5 job, so to speak. Okay, I can't help it. I gotta pay the bill somehow. I was sitting in the coffee shop, which is actually part of the same building. It was a Dunkin' Donuts, so it's not like anything like glamorous hole in the wall, hippie chic or whatever. And that was when I was writing out the plot of my book, because I had to carpool that day, and I was like, well, I got 3.5 hours. Hour goes by, I had the whole thing plotted out, and I'm like, okay, now I can start structuring. But I think because I had poured so much out, I hit a brick wall, and I'm like, nope, that's my brain telling me, today is enough. That's enough for today. So I sat down and started reading a book. 5 minutes before I'm supposed to clock in, I'm like, I have to write!
Yeah. But that's good though, to know when I wish that I'm getting there, but that's my thing, is I will just keep forcing it and trying, and it's like, when you get to that point, like you said, if your brain has just shut down, you've hit a brick wall, there's no point, until you got to step away. But a lot of times I don't do that myself, but yeah. And then usually when you step away, you, like you said, oh my God, I got to write this.
Yeah, because you ended up doing some mundane task that kind of like acted like, like either, dynamite for the brick wall, or, it just finally pushed away all of like that blackness, and then it was like, okay, now I'm back again. Yep.
Yeah, that's like that's actually one of my things right now. It's because, I told you, going through this transition, I got to the point where I started taking all these classes and stuff, and I'm like, I've got to write faster. Yeah, that backfired.
You ended up putting too much pressure on yourself.
You see how much faster I'm writing, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It really works.
No slam at you, but yeah, I totally tell.
Yeah. So, and that's part of my problem is, I'll sit in front of the computer and I just sit here, and I'm just like, and I try to force myself to sit there, and it's just nothing happens. And so I've finally, as I said, it's a transition. And so I've finally gotten to the point where I'm like, yeah, I got to go get on the treadmill, or got to go fold some laundry or something. And then usually when I do that, it's like I can come back and work, So, but yeah, I'm actually at my desk, so I feel like I should be typing.
Well, actually, we've pretty much neared right at the very end for the interview. So this is the opportunity where I'm going to give you the floor to throw out any words of wisdom that you'd want to give out, or to give any information to your fans about anything that you're doing, get some hype up for yourself as well. So this is your platform, darling.
Oh boy, put me on the spot. As far as words of wisdom, like we said before, just keep at it, be persistent, and sometimes it takes a while. I mean, life happens, I guess, and making excuses and stuff doesn't really work. You gotta tackle it and just keep at it, and sometimes eventually you'll get there. So, I don't know. As far as what I'm doing, hopefully I'm going to finish a book sometime this year. I've got quite a bit on, Without Secrets. Is that what I called it? Yes.
Without Secrets?
I changed the name.
Oh, you did?
I think so.
What was it? What, if I may ask, what was it called before?
With Fear or Without Fear? I don't know. I'd have to look. The memory's going, But I changed it because they're just, during writing it, there were so many secrets and stuff came out, and I was like, whoa, so it just seemed to fit. But like I said, taking a break from it, I've got quite a bit done on it. I guess I'm officially on the second draft. But I've taken a break and working on the next Sci-Regency, at least for right now. When am I going to switch back? I don't know. Probably, I guess if this one keeps coming out the way it is, I'll probably just finish it and then go back to it. But that wasn't originally the plan. The plan was do it for a couple of weeks and then go back to the Wolves. But we'll see.
Well, hey, if the publisher was like, hey, we just handed you a $500,000 check, this is the point where it's like, you give us the Wolves, or we're coming after you for the money back kind of situation. If it was that kind of situation, I'm sure the wolves would have been out by now. But that's not how the entire publishing world works. This isn't Mike and Molly,
not anymore. Especially with, like, for mine, I typically don't contract something until I'm going pretty good with it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I still, because I do have a reputation, not a reputation. I'm a writer. What's the word? Relationship. There we go. With Sam Hain. I can do a partial, which is the synopsis and the first 3 chapters or whatever, and get it contracted and then, finish it out. I do that sometimes. I haven't with this one. And in fact, because of the struggles I've had, I decided not to. I decided, you know what? I'm going to finish the book before I send it. So, typically I will get, halfway through it and then send a partial. But, I haven't done that with this one. And maybe that's what I need to do. That's something I'm going to look at. That may be something I need to do to really, kind of kick myself in the butt to really put some pressure on, hopefully the right kind of pressure. But I don't know. I don't want to put the bad kind of pressure, I guess, right, and make it worse. Things are getting better, so I want to kind of keep going that way.
Exactly. Well, one of the I'll throw out a bit of words of wisdom here for the very end for you, and for everybody else as well. When you're writing, and like we had talked about, when you hit that brick wall and you need to do a mundane task, sometimes to help your mind grow in ways that you're needing it to grow, but you're not expecting it to grow, is to actually to stop and learn something new, which is what you are doing with Kung Fu. So already, you can already see, it's leading you in other directions. It's helping you write in other areas. Even if it's the next Sci-Regency as opposed to the next Wolves book, at least you're writing. It's like you have something else that's coming out. You still have something that's on a burner that's, waiting to be finished. So it's kind of like, it's better to have 2 projects than 1. But who's to say if you hadn't started learning Kung Fu that the next Sci-Regency may or may not have even started? Or maybe you wouldn't have known where you might have wanted to go with the next Wolf book, or how you wanted to put something into it. Learning something new might actually open your mind, a whole different door in the back of your mind as to, hey, this is what I'm going to do now. I had no idea before. I hadn't thought about it. And if I had thought about it, I would have rejected it, but now I really think it's going to work. Which is kind of like what I did. I actually just started learning how to play Minecraft. And I know I'm a noob, and I know it took me forever to get into Minecraft, but you know what? It's actually quite relaxing to be like, oh, I can dig, I can build something. Oh, there's a creeper and it explodes. Woo! But you'd be amazed Minecraft at how much of a mind wash it goes over your whole head. So when you walk away from it, you're like, there's so many ideas I have right now. And that's part of what helped with me structuring out for my book that I want to do. So, I guess that's a words of wisdom, not to stretch it out or drag it out any further, but it's like, learn something completely different, opposite of what you're trying to do, and it might open a door for you.
Yeah.
And it may not even be the door you expect.
Right. Yeah, it's funny because Jet Michaels she's knitting or crocheting. So she started crocheting all these really cool little animals, stuffed animals and stuff. Yes.
I got Mario mushrooms.
Yes, she's got so many cool little, and I kept thinking about, maybe I need to do that.
This is my tiniest one.
Thank you. That's cool.
Yeah, I like to do scarves and hats and stuff like that too.
That's cool.
Yep. All right, well, we have reached the end of this interview. I'm Joey Couture, and this has been my interview with Miss J.L. Langley. And I look forward to the next interview that I do with whoever it is I'm going to be doing it with. I don't know who it is going to be, and who knows how long it will be. Maybe I have to structure that out too. This interview was a while coming. Originally I don't know if nobody knows this. I don't know why I'm asking this, and I'm stuttering over my words now. I had actually contacted Jay back in January, but that was when the first draft that was stressing you out? You're like, I can't do it till March.
Yeah.
You're like, there's no way in hell it's gonna happen until March. So I was like, I'll wait till like March 29th before I say anything to her. I'm like, I'll give her March. But no, I'm glad that we finally got to do this interview, and I look forward to hearing back from you, in the future as to what you're doing and following your tweets and whatnot. So
Sounds good.
It's been a blast, darling.
Keep in touch.
Oh, I definitely will.